Wonderful to see, wonderful here. Josh does a great job every year. This is getting better and better. I see this. The screen's got a lot more bigger this time. So I don't know if my presentation deck actually makes justice to this, but let's see. I think this is a fabulous topic, and I think this is great in the context of what's going on around us. I mean, I don't know when this topic was picked or where it was done, but I think this has become more and more relevant now as we speak. So I think the number one, as you think about, even from Prime Minister Modi talking about this very recently in terms of how to, economy is great, but we need a resilient and a secure digital economy. I mean, this is such a core topic of it. So in terms of, my talk here, I'm going to talk a lot broadly, but I'm going to come specifically around the areas that we operate as well. Do you have a clicker? Yeah. All right. So first of all, we want, digital economy is a broad topic. It's way bigger than we can cover, for next 2 days if we speak. But in general, while all of these things are happening, I can relate this to what we do in Tulisma. So we work with educational institutions very closely, government in terms of education, also in the financial services. If you think from that standpoint, this is actually a very core, very near to what is happening. And we work with a lot of young students, and the idea of young students in terms of how they think of data breach. They have not even thought about this. And you think all these people are putting up their data on Facebooks and Insta and everywhere else, and and other than their username, password, everything else is there, right? I mean, that's the only thing left. So it's actually quite an interesting scenario if you think from that standpoint, what is going to happen to this digital economy. And if you think about, well, the growth is fantastic. I mean, you think about from a per capita, I don't know, some of you who are visitors to India, so welcome, by the way. So you may or may not know this, we have doubled our per capita for every 10 years. So in the last 10 years, we've doubled our per capita. And a lot of this growth is related to the digital. Right? I mean, 2015, when we launched the Digital India initiative, I think the growth has just taken off. And I think every time the number goes up, doubling becomes harder, right? All right. So, anyway, of course, I kind of talked about this. The digital economy, which is driving the nation, is what is causing this. The innovation of all this AI, IoT, think about every technology that we can think of. That's also the competitiveness, global competitiveness is forcing us to adopt these things much faster than testing it, making sure it is safe, making sure it's secure. We are adapting this faster and faster. I mean, I'm going into the educational institutions, they have mesh network, Wi-Fi enabled for all the kids. You have IoT devices, you have AI devices. Everything is out there. Now people are dumping. You will be surprised how many tech companies, means the appliance and everything, are willing to give these to the labs, willing to give this to them, and they're adopting this so quickly. Nobody's testing it. Nobody's checking what's going to happen with all of this, right? So it is quite interesting. While this is great, there is a downside to it. What's the downside? The secure environment, right? So what is resilience, by the way? I don't know if the word resilience was actually defined very well. Resilience effectively means that our ability to prepare, our ability to be thinking ahead of what could be the reason for this failure. Resilience is about, preparing for the eventualities, right? I relate this to a car. If you go back to the story of a car, you think about the car which was about 30 years ago, you didn't have all these secure features in a car, right? I mean, every year there's a new feature that gets added to the car. Like safety badge was, believe it or not, it's only a 15-year feature, right? And you think about now the ADAS 4 that has come in, it actually can say don't go, as you go near, it actually starts beeping. So security in a car keeps growing and growing and growing. I mean, it's still a car, it has 4 tires, and all it does is takes from place A to place B. Why is this so important? It is important because the things around you is becoming important. Life is becoming important, everything is becoming important, so is digital. It's no different. I mean, you improve the security as you go through it. Every year you're going to go through this. And I'm going to talk about, so while the adoption of digital is growing significantly, the risks of digital also growing significantly, right? Oops, sorry, I pressed something wrong there. Oh, there you go. I'm going to skip that. So, and is this isolated problem? Is this an isolated problem? You'll be surprised. This is the kind of, it cuts across every industry. There is no one specific industry which is isolated from this problem, right? And you can see in the education and the financial services, the two sectors that we operate, you see it's pretty much, the DOS attacks are actually quite high. So why does it matter? Why does the students' data so much matter for institutions? I mean, for somebody to go hack into and break into and take the data out, why does it matter? You would think, I mean, financial services you all can understand, but why does it matter of a student? Right? And you'll be surprised how many attacks happens on this. And I mean, half of it is generated by students themselves, right? And so they are like becoming better hackers, I guess. The other half is actually happening because they want to grab the information of the students because they are vulnerable. They are at that age when they've just got an account, they just have a bank account, they just have access to credit cards. They are very vulnerable. At the age of 18 to 22 they are naive. And so they fall for a lot of these things very, very quickly. So this is actually catching them early, or whatever you want to think about it. So it's a huge problem in that sense. Lots of words. It's as complicated as why cyber attack is. But I just want to kind of say that, I kind of was, as I was thinking about this, I say, what are the things that happens in education environment where we work? By the way, we manage some of the largest, I would say, admission process in India, and I'm talking about millions of applications come through our platform to get admission into classes and students. And I can tell you the number of attacks that we go through, right? I mean, people they know that there are millions, I'm talking about 3 to 4 million applications that comes in for admissions into government institutions. There is always somebody trying to hack and break and kind of get data out, and they want to manipulate it. I mean, they're trying to do everything possible. So a secure cloud environment is a very, very essential part of what we do. And same thing on the financial services. I mean, we are having some of the big banks, the top banks, top insurance companies. That's what I mean by financial services. So this problem is a real problem. So what do we actually, but when we actually talk to the executives and say, how prepared are we? I mean, the number just tells it all, right? So there is still 62% don't believe that they're prepared for this. So this is why this is such an important topic. I think it is a very relevant topic. And organizations like us, we sit with the institutions in designing not just their solution of how to address their current problem, but also foresee the problems that they could face in terms of, having a resilient and secure environment, right? Same thing as the digital economy. So so this is a process, right? I mean, a car was not manufactured yesterday and it was not driven today. It's a process. It goes through an evolution. And once we start riding this journey, I mean, we advocate this to the educational institutions as well as financial institutions. It's a journey. You can never actually fix everything overnight. It doesn't matter how much money you want to throw at it, right? Because you really have to understand how to go through this process. And for us, we think it has a long tail, which means that even if you throw all the money at it, it takes years of constant, attention to this and having a lot of, deeper into this. And one of my roles I've played in the past also is the Chief Digital Officer. So I have gone through over 70 enterprise applications that includes Oracle, SAP, you can name it all. I've actually managed all of it. So I kind of know the challenges of an enterprise application. So with that, I actually wanted to close this. And again, great thanks Jose and TIA for having me here and sharing my thoughts on this very important, relevant topic. And I'm sure as we're thinking about our own personal stuff, I heard the previous speaker speak about the port and your mobile number, which is very, very important. I think even beyond that, make sure that you're not, putting out your more than necessary information on Insta and Facebook, and don't put your fingerprint out there and think and just anticipate what's going to happen to you. Okay? So thank you again. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Raj. If I may just keep you for another minute.
Yeah.
You mentioned something very important. These are all processes and they have taken years. I mean, especially if you look at today's car, it's a 100-year-old invention where we are today. But we are also, you mentioned about Prime Minister Modi and, all this digital economy. We are kind of leapfrogging some of these things.
Yes.
We are trying to do these things much faster. So I asked this question earlier and I'll ask you as well. Cybercrime, all of these things are really important topics at the enterprise level, but at an individual level, I mean, there cannot be an economy where we see more scams and frauds. 1 minute pitch about how do we manage that side?
Yeah, I think it's a very relevant question, and it all comes down to what is your world? How do you operate in a digital world? Right? I mean, some people choose to do a lot more digital. I mean, shopping is a great example. Everybody does shopping online. You choose UPI, you choose this. So I think it depends on how exposed you are in terms of digital footprint that you have out there. But more generically, if I have to address this, I think the idea that we have about I don't need my wallet, I'm going to have everything on my phone, and my phone is going to be secure, is I just warn you that that's a wrong idea.
Okay.
Okay, so you need to believe that that device needs to be
Vulnerable.
highly secure. That is the most vulnerable piece of thing that you're holding and walking around all day long. So what I would say is, while it's inevitable that you have to leave your phone somewhere, you have to drop it somewhere, give it somewhere, you hyper lock that phone, right? Hyper lock it, which means that, I know that iPhones these days are getting better, Samsung phones are getting better. There are enough phones out there which are not that hyper locked, which means that quick to actually access information out of there, and it could be a big trouble. So the most usable device that we all carry is your mobile. I would say secure that first. I mean, then comes everything else. That's my advice.
Thank you. Thank you. I think thanks a lot for
Sure.
sharing.
Thank you.
Round of applause, please.